Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
So, 62. Swayam antar bahihi vyapya bhasayan akilam jagata brahma prakashate madhini pratapta yat pinda. Who wants to read?
Pervading everything inside and outside, Brahman illuminates the entire universe. Brahman shines like a fire amidst a red hot iron ore.
Okay. So now, what is this example? What is this imagery? There is a red hot iron ball, and suppose there is fire. The whole of the ball seems to be bright. Where is the light coming from? From the iron? Where is it coming from? From the fire. So this is, what is the example now in this whole jagat? Where is the only one light? It seems to be everywhere, and each one, as though the iron seems to have taken the quality of
Light.
shining light, but the quality of light belongs to fire, and the shape, right? So it seems the fire doesn't have a shape, but the iron has a shape. So that means this is what we call, in some ways you can call it anyonya adhyasa. What is anyonya adhyasa? Anyonya adhyasa means the iron is cold, but it is taken to be hot and shiny because of its proximity with the fire. And fire, which actually has no shape, takes on the shape of iron. Do you understand? So this is what we call anyonya adhyasa. Anyonya adhyasa means that the appearance is such that there is a mutual mix-up. So what does it mean? That the awareness seems to belong to a body, mind, sense complex, and Atma seems to be as good as body and mind. So that means the attributes of body and mind are attributed on Atma, and Atma seems to be confined to this given body and mind. So this is why that when there is an anyonya adhyasa, doing, for example, and there is no physical distance, ascertaining what belongs to what, that is difficult, right? Because it is so mixed up. So that is why the awareness that you find anywhere, it belongs to Brahman, and the form and its attributes are only form's attributes, they don't belong to Brahman. So this is something, it is in and through everything, and it is free from the attributes that it pervades. Okay, 63. Jagat Vilakshanam Brahma, Brahmanaha Anyat Na Kinchana, Brahma Anyat Bhati Chet Mithya Yatha Marut Marichika. Okay, please.
Brahman is different from the universe, but there exists nothing other than Brahman. If anything other than Brahman shines, it must be annihilated, just as the merge, water and the desert.
Okay. So that means after going from, now everybody is getting ready to go home, right? So now, when you walk out there, if you see anything other than Brahman, then what? Understood? So that means, what does it mean? So this is one thing. Now, for example, when there is a form, suppose you start to superimpose Brahman, what will happen? That is crazy. So what you do need to understand is one thing. Who is a wise person? This is something that we are constantly, we all think, because we kind of don't quite fathom the world of a wise person and we want to get there. Okay, let me forget this. Okay, one thing. Okay. Coffee. Yeah, just a quarter. Yeah, it requires real force. He's a cop, so their force is natural. Trying to make it clear and clean. Yeah, Priyash, he's a copper. You have to be careful.
I was thinking we are so lucky.
Yeah. Good for Germany. Okay, so one thing that we need to understand, so we generally think about that you never lose sight of Brahman. So it seems to us as though we don't have to think about our form, only have to think about Brahman. So this is why we think we have to keep thinking about Brahman, Brahman, Brahman. That's not what it is, right? What it is, see, all of us came to this earth with a form. And with our eyes, that's all we can see. This is Ishvara Srishti. This is how Ishvara has designed things, right? Eyes capture forms, ears capture sound, and we only operate here, thinking this to be the reality. So when you use the words of Pramana, what they do is they add two more very big realities. What is it? All these forms are pervaded by one, which is Ishvara, all knowledge and all power. And not only it's the maker, but also the material cause. So that is pervading everything. But it manifests itself as different forms, and the forms become upadhi because we only see the forms and we don't see all knowledge and all power, which makes every form what it is. Now this all knowledge and all power, which itself is constantly changing to reproduce the universe differently, itself has its final cause, which is Brahman. And that is an unchanging reality that itself kind of does not undergo any change. So wherever you see the forms, you will find both these realities, which are not available for the eyes, but they are the ones which are making the eyes what they are, and they are able to make you see these forms. So what has happened is, our knowledge of what is has deepened. Because we were only operating here, now we have these two elements. Now when we have these two elements, does it mean that the form which understands everything is Ishvara and everything is ultimately Brahman has to negate this and constantly have to live as though I'm Brahman, unconnected to the forms and all that? Is that knowledge? That's not knowledge. So that means before only this reality was available, now the entire reality is available. So there is a form. Nobody is in denial of that form. Then there is that which makes that form what it is, knowledge and power. And then there is the truth, which is, and in each unit, all three are available. Right? So that means you don't cease to see this form. It almost seems to everybody that when I come to know the knowledge, I'm only here, I'm parked here. Because all this is mithya. This is not what it is. You have understood the reality and relationships actively. Like a quantum physicist. A quantum physicist goes beyond the forms and figures out that there are atoms and particles. But the person doesn't live from here. You understand? It's not like everywhere he sees, he wants to see space and particles running around. Otherwise he won't be able to transact with the universe. So that means the physicist will see the form, but will see something more than the form. This is what we call knowledge. Otherwise we are constantly trying to disconnect from here and connect here. This becomes a crazy pursuit. Because this form is Ishvara's creation, you can't free yourself from it while you are alive. So that means the wise person has the total reality, whereas the unwise person lives from only this being the reality. Okay? So this is how you never lose sight of this, no matter which form you are interacting with. This is what is called the wise person. Okay, this is why he says if you see anything other than Brahman. So what does it mean? Suppose your coming back here seems to you like a distraction. That means you see this as other than Brahman. That means you haven't understood. So this is why somebody used to, like Swamiji, all the time people go to Swamiji, right? And they tell him, Swamiji, this is what, so they tell him very common. They said, Swamiji, I have understood Brahman, but I am trying to retain it. What does it mean? What does it, this particular problem, what does it imply?
You've not understood.
Exactly. You haven't understood. Why?
Because if the truth is known to you, it will be known to you first.
If the truth is known to you, it is forever known. You can't forget it. This is not forever. So that means what? That means when you see something else, that means you forget Brahman. That means you haven't understood Brahman. Brahman is that which is in and through every form. No form can make you forget Brahman, because Brahman being the truth of that form. Growing clarity. So that means that this is why I say you have to be precise. You can't say I have understood when actually it is growing clarity. Because that itself is a confusion, right? Where you are, which point you are, you have to be clear. That is part of making your mind accurate. So this is retaining means that there is one thing that you never can be away from. So there is no question of retaining. That is Brahman. So if in any way it seems away from you, right now I am not retaining, means right now Brahman is remote from me. I haven't understood the nature of that. So this is what we will see. Where is it? Now? 64. Drishyate shruyate yat brahmanah anya na tat bhavet tattva jnanat cha tad brahma satchidanandam advaita. Okay. So now this gives that lamita.
Whatever is seen or heard in this universe does not exist apart from Brahman. Gaining the knowledge of reality, what was earlier seen as the world, that same world is only Brahman, the non-dual existence, consciousness, which is limitless.
Exactly. So that means, let me elaborate, this is actually elaborating on that. So suppose you say, I'm not thinking, I have to retain Brahman means I'm thinking of something else and therefore I'm not thinking of Brahman. That's why you can say, I'm not able to retain. So whatever you are thinking of or hearing or whatever, there itself is Brahman. So that means nothing can take you away from Brahman, that is Brahman. So here your question or your problem seems to be that some things connect me to Brahman and some things don't connect me to Brahman. So if something which is not connecting to Brahman, that means you haven't understood, because there is nothing which is anything that you hear, anything that you see, that itself as its being in Brahman. It cannot take you away from Brahman.
So will a wise person retain that awareness always? Like he's, using his mind and body and moving around in the world. But will that Brahman awareness always be there?
See, as I told you, it's not, this awareness is that because of which every thought takes place. It's not like only when you're thinking about Brahman, awareness is there. When I'm thinking about tree, awareness is there. When I'm thinking about river, awareness is there. It's not like you have to keep repeating awareness, 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 then you're thinking of awareness. So that's not called knowledge. That is called just repeating, right? So that means no matter what I think of, I cannot be away from awareness. That's called knowledge. Because anything that I say, anything that I hear, whether it is a rock music or a classical music or no music, I can never be away from Brahman. That is knowledge. My listening or doing something doesn't take me away from Brahman. Because whatever I'm doing, the content of that doing is Brahman. That is called knowledge. Right? So this is, please don't link it to your memory. All these kind of questions come from memory based. Memory based means, suppose you have understood 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. Do you have to keep repeating 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, 2 plus... Knowledge is of the nature that it doesn't require any more repetition. Otherwise you can't do anything else. Whole life goes only in repeating what you have learned, you can't do anything else. So that means that is not called, that is called just trying to hold something which is unholdable.
Which holds everything.
Which holds everything. That is not. So
the hoarder, the hoarding, and what is held.
everything exists in Brahman. So this is what it is. Sampakam Satchidanandam Jnana Chakshuhu Nirikshate Ajnana Chakshuhu Na Ikshate Asvatam Bhanum Andava. Very beautiful example. Who wants to read this example? Sachit.
The eye of wisdom, the wise, sees existence, consciousness, which is limitless and all-pervading. The eye obscured by ignorance, the unwise, does not see it. Just as a blind man does not see the sun during daytime, however resplendent it shines.
So that means the sun is always shining. The sun's nature is to shine. But if you are blind, then you don't see the sun. Right? So that means it's not that I'm trying to retain the sun. What it is, sun is always shining. That is the nature of the sun. But your eyes are either capable of seeing the sun or that ever shining sun, or they are not capable of seeing it. So what is the example? Atma is always there. It is one presence which never gets displaced. One thing which is the truth of time, truth of space. Can it ever go away anywhere? Where can it go? It can't go anywhere. So that is the only thing which doesn't go anywhere. So if it seems to you as though you have to hold on to it, then there is still clouds. Clouds means you have to clear those clouds. So until the time that you understand the real nature of Brahman, your mind will keep creating images. And all those images that it creates, they are all inaccurate. Because your mind is trying to get there. So that's how it is. Every knowledge is like that, right? Till you get there, you are trying to get there. That's all it is. When you actually get there, there is no question. So that means that trying to get there is wonderful, but still there is ignorance. All the all these kind of will it stay with me? Will I ever? That means you haven't understood the nature of sun. So this is where the Atma is always shining. There is nothing which can not make Atma shine. Everything else shines after. And that is your nature. Can you forget yourself? It's impossible. Right? So this is okay, whatever you hear, whatever you see, the eyes, so the only way you can see this reality is through the eye of wisdom. Eye of wisdom means through this pramana pravritti, when you engage with Shastra, your ignorance has gone away. There is no other way. Next. Shravana dipihi Deepta Jnana Agni Pari Tapitaha Jivaha Sarva Malan Muktaha Swarnavat Dhyotate Swaya. Shakti.
Lit up and kindled by listening to the scriptures and so on, totally heated by the fire of knowledge, having dropped all impurities, the Jiva shines by itself like gold.
Okay, great. So that means, as we have seen, that Jiva shines itself like gold. Okay. As I had told one time, that from Jiva, Jivatvam goes away, and the Swarupa of Jiva is Brahman. What does it mean? This Jiva is an entity. So let's take ornament. When the ornament knows what its true nature is, then the status of being ornament goes away. Does the whole ornament go away? No. What the real essential Swarupa of ornament is? Gold. You understand? So this is why you cannot say whole Jiva goes away. Because wherever there is Jiva, there is a truth of Jiva which is Brahman. So this status of being a Jiva which is confined to only one given body, mind, sense complex, or a entity which is bound by karma, that goes away. But the Swarupa is Brahman. So the person, the Swarupa of Brahman. So whole Jiva doesn't go away. Please don't make that mistake. So Swamiji used to say that don't throw baby out of with the bath water. So what does it mean? That you throw out the baby, the bath water. But what happens if you throw out the baby along with it? This is it. Everywhere where there is a form, there is a content. That content is known. The form, its mithyatvam is recognized. Jivatvam is mithya. What is the Jivatvam? The status of being this body, mind, sense complex, that is mithya. That goes away because of knowledge, jnana chakshusha. But Jiva Swarupa is Brahman. This is why I can say, I am Atma Brahman. So, when an ornament, suppose it had mind, it knew that I am not an ornament. The status of being an ornament goes away, but the truth of ornament, which is gold, is there. Okay? So this is why all these terminologies, Jiva goes away, Brahman comes, there is no going and coming. There is only one thing. In one thing, you can't talk about these kind of things. So you have to recognize that. Right? One thing which is never displaced, and the form and your association with form being reality, that goes away. That's why scriptures have to be listened to again and again and again and again to make your buddhi more and more and more precise and more refined. Okay? Vritha kasha Kuditaha hi Atma Bodha Bhanuhu Tamo Apakrita Sarvavyapi Sarvadhari Bhati Bhasayate Akhilam. These are all just landing verses which are actually going on reminding you the nature of reality. Yeah, please.
The self has risen in the heart space. It is the sun of the knowledge that destroys all darkness. It creates everything. It sustains everything. It shines by itself and illumines everything else.
Okay. This is one thing which is interesting because up to now the Upalabdhi Sthanam was said to be Buddhi, mind, right? Buddhi is where there is I sense, where you see I am. Now all of a sudden it is said heart space. So,
Hridaya Akash.
Hridaya Akash. Right? So how come all of a sudden from mind it came to heart? So, and this is something that it indicates. These are the things which are indicators. Why? Because Brahman is also illuminating the mind, illuminating the heart. Every part of your body is where there is Brahman. Right? It's not at location at certain place. It's everywhere. At the same time, this expression means what? That it's not a knowledge like other cognitive knowledges. What happens is, what is the difference between philosophy and spirituality? Vedanta is highly philosophical, but it is called to be a spiritual pursuit. Why? A philosopher can be thinking about the world, right? And can be very, very smart and very, very cognitive and very clever and all that. Can figure out many things about the world. That's what you see. Sometimes you read some of these philosophers, they are brilliant. Really they are brilliant. They are looking at the world, but their thinking processes are so refined, they can see so much more than what our normal human beings come to understand. Right? At the same time, the knower is still intact. So I look at the world and I use my mind and I make many, many different observations. In spirituality, what is the difference? You, the observer who is making this observation himself or herself undergoes a major transformation. It's not information gathering. It's not just sitting here and thinking about the world and time and space and everything.
Or building a system.
And building a system which is perfect and this model. These people who build models, mathematical models, they have to be very clever. They have to make all the logical connections and connect everything to everything else. And Vedanta is like that, really. It seems like that. At the same time, if it is just remaining some bunch of ideas where you get kicked from, that's not knowledge. Right? So that means you have to transform it. You have to, the minute you re-understand the world, your connection with Ishvara has to go stronger. How you relate to everybody else has to become, it has to be different. Whole of 12th chapter was like that. Criteria for decision making have to undergo change. How do you face challenges? That has to undergo change. So that means the truth has to percolate every aspect of your being. And when it percolates every aspect of your being, then you can say that this knowledge is, the process of knowledge is complete. So that means that total assimilation of this knowledge. It's not like I know Brahman, I am Brahman. That is a big difference. I know Brahman means I kind of understand some logics in the class. That is good, very good. But that's not called knowing. Yeah. So that is what we have to be very careful. This is why all of a sudden Shruti moves from mind to heart. This is not Shruti, this is prakarana. But very often, even in Shruti it is said, heart, hridaya.
So can it be said that the knower dissolves and the connection with Ishvara emerges?
Superb. Superb. This is amazing. So, this particular, Jayanta, can you repeat? This is very good.
As in the knower, the knower dissolves and the connection with Ishvara emerges.
That's it. More and more. So this is what, this particular, the way you are expressing, this is what our teacher used to express in a slightly different way. He said, less and less Jeeva, more and more Ishvara. The form remains. Less and less this angular person who views the world in a certain way, who sees in a certain way, certain habits, certain attitudes, certain orientations. Less and less of that. And more Ishvara. More and more Ishvara means you are just seeing things as they are, and you are interacting, and you are spontaneous, and you are just, in sync with all the laws and, alignment with Ishvara. Life just flows. Excellent. So, the one way of growth according to Vedanta is less of Jeeva and more of Ishvara. Through this form, what manifests more? Your thinking, your opinions, your orientations, or the knowledge and wisdom shines through this knowledge. Then you are in touch with Ishvara. Wonderful. Now the last? Yeah. Wow. Even way before time. Lots of questions. Dik desha kaladi anapeksha sarvagam shitadi nitya sukham niranjanam yaha swatma tirtham bhajate vidhi shkriyaha saha sarvavid sarvagataha amrutaha. Vaishali, you get the last word. Always. Yes.
Renouncing all actions, the one who resorts, sorry, my specs are not there. Sorry. Renouncing all actions.
Don't worry. Yeah. You still get the last one.
Renouncing all actions, the one who resorts to or dips into the holy shrine of his own self, that which does related to or touched by direction, space and time.
So is not related to or is not touched by that. There is a typo.
Does not.
Or does not relate to or is not touched.
Not touched by that which does not relate to or not touched by direction, space and time, and is present everywhere. That which is a destroyer of heat and cold, eternal happiness and ever pure, that person will become all-knowing, all-pervading and immortal.
Okay, so this is what the Jiva's journey from being a limited, struggling entity to that which is all-pervading limitlessness, right? So as we saw, after Vidinha Mukti, there is no entity anymore. So there is only what? Ishvara and Brahman. Even before knowledge, it's only Ishvara and Brahman. The form, the Jiva is an addition, which is an addition of ignorance. Jivatvam is an addition of ignorance. The form is there, but the form need not, if you don't have ignorance, it does not make you lose sight of presence of Ishvara. So that means, for that person, all that remains. Even while the person sees the form, sees it as manifestation of Ishvara. So nothing that you see. And forms are different. It's not like forms are the same. And the person may respond differently to different forms. Like Lord Krishna, he was responding differently to different people. It was not like he was same. So So he was telling Duryodhana, he was telling Kunti. There is a beautiful story in Mahabharata. Beautiful story. So after the war was over, Pandavas won. All 100 Kauravas died. Everybody, Bhishma, Dronacharya, everybody died. Ashwatthama, everybody died. Now, the parents of Duryodhana and the Kauravas, they were alive. Gandhari and Dhritarashtra. So now, Pandavas have to go to their uncle and declare. Of course, Sanjaya was there and giving a live commentary. But they have to go and see their uncle and aunt and tell them that what? We have won the war, all your sons are gone. So they all are shaking. Who gives them support? Krishna. Krishna goes along. He says, don't worry, I will come with you. And then the Pandavas have to tell Dhritarashtra, all your sons are gone, we won the war. And Dhritarashtra is breaking down. He's breaking down. At the same time, he tries to hold it together, because this is what we think is what a man is supposed to do. But mother, Gandhari, she freaks out. She freaks out. And then what does she do? She goes to Krishna. She doesn't go to anybody else. She goes to Krishna. And she says, I've heard you are an avatara. You are a manifestation of Ishvara. And you are the only one who could have avoided this war. And now, see what you did. You let this war be and see what has happened. This mass destruction. I've lost all my kids. And then, what? And I'm so much... And so much destruction, and I'm so upset. So she says, why didn't you stop this war? Lord Krishna. How does he reply to Gandhari? He tells her, the first thing he tells her is, Gandhari, I understand your pain. It's so hard to lose all 100 kids. They were all beloved to you. So that is his first thing. I totally understand what you feel, but you are blaming me for all that happened. But Duryodhana was your child, and he was from the childhood. He was showing what? His all partiality. He was a spoiled child. And what did you do all along to bring him back on track? He threw a tantrum and you yielded. He threw another tantrum and you yielded. Dhritarashtra was blind, you could have been his eye. You yourself blinded yourself. And Duryodhana got more and more license to do whatever he wanted. Then you knew that your brother Shakuni was a cheat, and you let Duryodhana collaborate with him and defeated them and sent them to the forest totally unfairly. I came to negotiate and I wanted to avoid a war, and I was willing to settle for something so small, which was nothing for Duryodhana. And he didn't yield and you didn't say anything. Now you had number of opportunities to intervene. Right from the childhood to when he was growing up. At every stage you had the capacity to intervene. And you didn't do anything. And now you're blaming me. So that is what? This wise person, when what we say, never loses sight, sees everything as Brahman, doesn't mean is equal to everyone. It's not like, please don't create this romantic ideas about, oh, the person will love everyone, there is universal love, the person will have no. Hey, that's not called the person who is alive to oneness. Alive to oneness means you understand exactly the order. What does it mean? You have to understand where there is non-duality at the level of Brahman. At that level of Ishvara there are laws. And the forms have to abide to those laws. And the forms which don't abide to the laws, when you interact with them, your responsibility is to what? Inspire them to abide with it, not to go along with it in the name of universal love. This is why, what is the role of wise person? Role of wise person is not to just validate everyone, then everyone will remain unwise. So the role of wise person is to lift everyone up. In order to lift everyone up, they have to recognize where they are. If you don't recognize you are in your own mental thing of every universal love, everything is one, how will you recognize? This is why that answer, somebody asked a question, what is the sadhana that we do? This teacher was very clever. He said, first of all, there is nobody who does sadhana, by the way. Sadhana is called means. Means for what? An end. Sadhana always goes with sadhya. There is no sadhana hanging in the air. These are relational words. So that means, what is the means to an end? So that means, if I want to reach, what does it mean? If I want to reach my final destination called moksha, what is my means? And the means for everyone is different, depending upon where in the journey you are. This is why he says, it's never universal, it is individual. Individual because everybody is not at the same point. This is why the Guru has to recognize differences, and having recognized differences, it has to be always individualized. What do you need at this point in time? What do you need? And what you need today, you may not need 5 years from now. You understand that? So that means it's a continuous process in the journey of growth. The Guru accompanies you. And if the Guru did not recognize all the differences and saw everything as one, limitless, how will that happen? So that means this recognition of oneness, it doesn't mean that all forms are equal. Forms are different. They have different characteristics. What is one is that one not. And what does the teacher do? Lifts layers and layers and layers and layers of ignorance to lift you up. If you are with one given teacher. Otherwise you do guru shopping. Go from here to there, here, there. Wonderful. That's also wonderful. Nice. Then by the time you hear this one, oh, that one said this. Then by the time you hear this, then but that, then who's saying what? Then it's all confusion. Up to a certain point, it's fine. It's wonderful to explore. It's nice. But at one point, the mind has to become more discerning. As you become more discerning, when somebody is speaking from understanding, or somebody is just saying things, as the textbook says, there is a big difference. So that means that also requires Ishvara's grace. In who are you attracted to? So this is what the wise person's job is, to what? See everything as one, but lift each one's buddhi differently so that they can see their own glory. So this is Atma Bodha. This is Atma Bodha. I still have, people are leaving at 1. Okay, I will do one final summary. No, there are questions and I'll answer questions.
I didn't have a question.
Oh,
I was just assuming there would be.
Okay. There are 2 options. Either I will do the summary of everything that you have seen, or we can ask questions. Whichever. Okay, now, my question to you. Do you want to participate in this summary, or do you just want me to give the summary? Give the summary. Give the summary.
Baby in the spoon. You're feeding all the babies.
Yes, so hungry.
Are you continuing the summary from where you left this morning? Because today also you did a little bit.
So this is the thing, what I want to do is, through these summaries, what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to give you, because next time also I will ask you to summarize. But what is a good summary and how to do it, right? I mean, whoever can say whatever, but and it's good. It's not that it's not good, but how to hold the text. That we don't know how to hold the text. I've done the whole text. The whole thing has to stay in my buddhi. That is called understanding the text. Otherwise, it's like understanding bits and pieces here and there. That's wonderful, but it's not called knowing it properly, right? So, Atma Bodha, now I'll do it only from my memory. I mean, I can't re-explain all 68 verses, but what I have to do is to summarize. Summarize means the whole thought process. Okay? So, how did Atma Bodha begin? It says that this book is for Mumukshu. Who is a Mumukshu? The one who has recognized the fact that my normal pursuits don't give me what I'm really searching for. And what I'm searching for is the lasting fulfillment that the way Swamiji said, I want to be happy in the morning and in the evening, and not only at work but also at home. That is called lasting fulfillment, right? So I want to be happy all the time, but no matter what I do, that doesn't seem to come, but it's my natural urge. So there must be something which gives me that fulfillment that I'm searching for. So that means now I'm searching for it. And what is the qualification that I require? Tapo bihi kshina papana. So that means I have to have some mastery over my being. And this mastery you can replace with chapter 12 of Gita, which is talking about so many different things. Right? How bringing dharma, swadharma, your duties and responsibilities, your emotional life. From prayers it has to become prayerful life, which is when things come, prayerful life. Equanimity in form of what? By recognizing the results come from the order of Ishvara, which is infallible in nature. Then expansion verses. Maitraha, Karuna, compassion, friendliness, lack of resentment. So what happens is, this tapo bihi kshina papanam is getting further and that. Because when we did Atma Bodha how did we did the tapas? We said what? Vak tapas. So that is also part of this, right? How do you speak? All of this also is included. But then there are bigger areas. Speech. So this is what he says. This actually is a precondition before this whole inquiry takes place. Then, how do I actually even, this is my, I'm ready now. But now having been ready, I have to figure out what exactly is this freedom that I'm seeking, moksha, and how can I get it? So, there was this whole logic given that this freedom, which is fullness that I'm seeking, if I'm really small and I add something which is small, it will still remain small, even if it is happiness. It will be fleeting. So therefore, the only way to solve this problem is what? That I'm not small. Because this is small, time and space. Everything else that I seek is within time and space, and it is small. So the only way that I can solve this problem is that I am not small. Then the next question is, if I am not small, then why do I feel that I am small? So that is because of ignorance. So what is opposite of ignorance? So the verse says, knowledge is not opposed to ignorance. Karma is not opposed to ignorance. Only knowledge is opposed to ignorance. So, what is opposed to ignorance is not karma. In one verse he says it, but only knowledge. Then, what kind of knowledge? So we saw further that perception and inference gives knowledge about objects. Now that I want to know my true nature, the perception and inference will not work. So I need Shabda Pramana, an independent means of knowledge, which is what we call Shabda Pramana, Shastra. Now, what kind of knowledge, this Shastra, how will they give knowledge? Through words, which are contained in Upanishads. Then the next question was, what kind of knowledge these words will give? Direct knowledge or indirect knowledge? So, what is a condition for whether the words will give direct or indirect knowledge? The condition is, exactly, if what I want to know, if it is away, then it will give indirect knowledge, but if it is with me, then it cannot give indirect knowledge, it has to give direct knowledge. So now I know that it has to give me direct knowledge. So now I start listening to the words of Shastra with a certain focus. And I say, okay, the words will actually give me direct knowledge. And then the example was given. What was the example given? The first example was given is, the sun is always shining. What will these words do? It will remove the clouds. It will remove the clouds. So the sun, the words are not producing the sun. The sun is already there. Atma is already there. What is the job that the words will do? They will remove your ignorance, so that you can see the nature of Atma as it is. Okay? So now you have to start using these words. What are these words talking about Atma? So through this Drik, Drishya, Viveka, Prakriya, you have started, you are the one who is Mumukshu, who is taking yourself to be the body, mind, sense complex. So, through the Drik, Drishya, Viveka, Prakriya, it takes you to the final Druk. What is it says that body is something which is, and its different conditions are known by me. mind and its different conditions are known by me. So that means, and that thing, that an object, so in between there is yet another prakriya used, that when the object is seen by the eye doesn't become the object. So that is the logic, right? So that means if all these are something which I objectify, there is a final druk in form of awareness, without which I can't see what is going on in the body, what is going on in the mind. But while this makes this possible, this doesn't become any of this. By the same logic that the eyes don't become the object that you see. That's the logic, right? Otherwise what will happen? I'm just saying it. That's not how Vedanta is taught. You have to give logic. You have to show this is true not only in that case but in every case. Okay? Now, having come to this awareness, you then have to, the author asks the question, hey, how did these forms come about? You are awareness, but right now you have this body and mind with you. So how did that come about? So then we talked about Ishvara as Upadane. Upadane means it is both. Then we looked into the nature of Ishvara and we ascertained it's what for all forms to come, which is intelligently put together. The pot maker, which is the maker, must have knowledge and power. So therefore, this cause of all these forms must have all knowledge and all power. Then you can say any cause, any manifestation requires not only the material, not only the maker, but also the material cause. So then, using what? All knowledge and all power made all these forms. So then we saw that Ishvara is not only the maker but also the material cause of the creation. What is the logic? Within the creation there can be two separate maker and material cause. But before the manifestation there is no time, there is no space and there is no object. So there cannot be a material which is outside that can be used in order to manifest the universe. So the universe is also the, this all knowledge and all power is not only the maker but also the material cause of the universe. Then the author went on and said the material causes themselves are two in nature. One is Varinami Upadana Karana and the other one is Vivarta Upadana Karana. Parinami is what? It self-transforms, right? Like the curd, the milk transforms into curd to become curd. This is what we call, there is a change taking place. And Vivarta is that, the example was, without undergoing any intrinsic change, the gold has become all the different ornaments. That was the example that was given in the verses. Okay, so that means this Vivarta is without undergoing any change. So now the relationship between this all knowledge, because you have these things. When you did Drishya Viveka, you have awareness and you also have all knowledge and all power. And both are kind of cause. So which one is what? So then it was said, this knowledge and power is constantly undergoing change in order to, because the forms are in a constant flux. Not only the forms are in the constant flux, but one form becomes manifest, the other form comes into manifestation. So therefore, all knowledge and all power is Parinami Upadana Karana, bringing about constant change in the universe. and awareness is what we call Vivarta Upadana Karana. That without undergoing any change brings about all these forms. When you do that, you yet again come to this question that hey, if final cause is not undergoing any change, doesn't have any action, how can the universe come about? Then you have to add one more thing, and that is what we call potential, Maya. What is this potential, Maya? This Maya is all knowledge and all power, which has the capacity to manifest the universe, but the universe is not yet manifest, so you can't yet call it the cause of the universe because it's not yet come. Cause is with reference to an effect. Effect is not yet there. Jagat is not yet there. Universe is not yet there. So it is in a potential form. So that means that this knowledge and power, when it manifests as Jagat, that same knowledge and power is called Ishvara, the cause of the universe. Now in this potential, the power is zoomed in a little bit and said there are two kinds of powers. What kind of power? The power to manifest and also power to veil. How do you spell veil? V-E-I-L? Veil. So that means to cover. So this is why when the universe manifests, what happens? All these forms that are there, where are the forms in my diagram? All these forms, they don't know this reality, that ultimately it's all knowledge and its Swarupa is awareness. So this is why these forms do not know the reality. How are these forms made? So then there was this whole model of Sthula, Sukshma and Dharma Sharira. So how did this all knowledge and all power all of a sudden become these forms? This Sthula Sharira, the physical body, came with what? This all knowledge and all power created what? Five Pancha Mahabhuta. From there came manifested five elements. Akasha, air, this space, air, water, fire and earth. And from the gross elements, the physical body came. From the subtle elements, subtle body came. And the causal constitutes of all the karma. All the karma which are accumulated over lifetimes, which keep giving you different physical and subtle bodies. Okay. Then, after having said that, what it says is that this form, which is constituting of this, has become upadhi. What is the definition of upadhi? Definition of upadhi is that which what lends its attribute to something else. So what has happened is that this is the nature of Atma. Now the body, mind, sense complex has become upadhi because it lends its attributes to Atma, and Atma becomes upahita. It as though takes on the attribute of physical body, mind, sense complex. So therefore Atma, I, seems to be body, mind, sense complex. Now this, so that means upadhi it has become because it covers the real nature of Atma. Now how does it cover the nature of Atma? We make number of mistakes with reference to this physical and subtle body. And we take ourselves to be this, and therefore we miss our true nature. So which are the different locus of error that we make? One is what we call Annamaya. Body, which is modification of food, carrots and whatever that we eat or whatever. Not if you're vegan, you don't eat meat. So that means, so whatever you eat is just a modification of that. But you take yourself to be this, and as a result, you don't understand the nature. Then there was Pranamaya. There is one thing which makes you alive. That is taken to be Atma. So therefore, the Atma is missed out. Manomaya. The emotions become Atma. Therefore, Atma is missed out. Vijnanamaya. What is Vijnanamaya? Vijnanamaya is two ways. Either your decision-making capacity or there is this doer. The doer, me, makes many decisions. Doership. And then Anandamaya, the enjoyer. The doer is doing things for enjoyment. So at each of these levels, this is your identity, and this is why you live like this, and what is your true nature is awareness. So now, how do you come out of this, and how do you come to know this reality? So the Shruti Pramana does this job of showing you not this, not this, na iti, na iti. And then after having done that, so what it has done is to now show you who you really, what is. This is through Mahavakya. These are what we call, after having cleared the ground, it then shows you who you are. Now, when you listen to this Mahavakya, and if you really, what do you need to do? There are three operations that we all need to do. Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana. So that means you first need to figure out what exactly Vedanta is trying to show me. I'm part of a big reality. There is some higher reality to which I have to connect to. Or am I small and I have to become big? Do I have to merge with Brahman? What is it actually telling me? Or I am Brahman. What is it telling me? This is what we call Shravana. Then suppose you understand that okay, Shastra is saying you are Brahman. It's not that you have to merge with Brahman. Then what? You have what? It's a very big vision, right? From your limited, struggling human being to I am the whole is huge. So you are bound to have doubts. So you remove doubts. Then there is contemplation on this reality. So this is something which is going to what? This, how will this knowledge take place? It will give you vritti jnana. As you are listening, you have many thoughts which lead to growing clarity. You have to understand what Shastra is talking about. Then there is a final vritti, which is what we call akhandakara vritti. What will that akhandakara vritti do? It will totally remove your ignorance. And what will happen? You will understand this Brahman will shine in your buddhi exactly as it is. And when this shines, what is your understanding? Your understanding is that these are all attributes which belong to body and mind, and they are not attributes of this awareness. So therefore, what this awareness in itself is without any attributes. It does not undergo any modification. It doesn't undergo any change. It is the very truth of time and space. So this is what truth of time, space, without attributes, modifications. This is what you will understand. Then, it's close to 1, so I will stop soon. Okay. Then, what was talked about is, suppose you have understood this, what is the phala? What is the result? So what is the result? The result is that immediately all the karmas are burnt. Why are the karmas burnt? Because this individual who was inquiring into the nature of reality with the help of the Shastra, now as a result of understanding has moved from here to here. The definition of I has changed. That is really changed, not just lip service. And the minute it has moved here, this is not doing any action. So the action and the consequences that are collected here, they are burned immediately. So therefore, this person is called Jeeva Mukta. While living. So what happens? Only prarabdha karma remains. Sanchita and agami are gone. Now, what is this person's relationship to Ishvara? This form is still connected to all knowledge and all power. And the person understands that how did I become from here to here? I needed grace of Ishvara and teaching from Ishvara to actually understand this. On my own, I could not have understood. So therefore, the relationship with Ishvara is even stronger. Then what happens to this person after the death? That person, there is no longer any need for a form. Why? Because this form was part of what? This avarana shakti of Maya. The covering Shakti. Because of this form was this individuality that you enjoyed for cycles of creation. Now this form is understood to be mithya and awareness as the Satyam. So the whole karma account is gone. And as the karma account is gone, there is no one which is coming back as a form. What remains is what? Only Ishvara and awareness. So that means this is what we call while this person is living. How is this person moving around in the Jagat? The Upadhi still is there right now. The form is there. It is no longer covering the nature of Atma. But it is still there. The person uses it for the benefit of others and moves around freely in this universe. Never mixing up again what is what. So that means this person holds all realities. What does it mean? Generally, who is the ignorant person? Holds only this reality. The wise person has this reality, Ishvara's reality, awareness, and all these relationships totally clear. This is called wise person. Not any wrong attribution, no mixing up, not here, not there, getting confused, vague. This is not called, this is still called process of knowing. So this is So I hope you all contemplate. I mean, there's still many verses, but I just try to. So that means you have to hold all of this together in the relationship. That's your job now. So now, next time when I see you all, somebody was saying give homework. This is your homework. Homework means not just coming and feeling good. No, I know that you all are very sincere and I really appreciate you all very much and I take you all very seriously. But if you want to grow in your understanding, then you need to stay with this vision. And not just parts and get, oh yeah, now, of course that's also extremely important. You understand each thing accurately. But very important is also what is its connection to the whole vision. That you can't miss. And connecting each part and each one. And as you begin to study Kena Upanishad, then you have to think about how did that express this reality differently. Then when you study Bhagavad Gita, how is Lord Krishna doing it? So that means you have to keep on nourishing this whole picture till one day that it all becomes clear. So, thank you very much. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Mm-hmm.